Hey, yo, neighbors. It is Neighbor Nate, and I am back with episode 6 of season number 1 of the Music Festivals podcast. And I sure am glad that you are back to join us. My goal, as always, with this show is to make sure that you can get to know music festival venues and music festivals before you go. And if you're listening to the audio show, whatever podcast app that is, make sure that you do head over to the YouTubes at some point, because that's where all the visuals are. That's where you're going to get the on-site footage, the walking tours, all the cool stuff that I get to do while I'm at festivals. And if you really, really want to be on the inside of our little conspiracy, go ahead and head on over to musicfestivalspodcast.com and join the neighborhood. That is the email list. By doing that, you're going to get exclusive neighbors only content. There's going to be swag and ticket deals, special promotions from venues and bands, and even some vendors. We're going to talk to a vendor today on the show. And you're also going to get on the list for some invites to special neighborhood events at a festival near you. I'm going to be going to festivals at least once or twice a month and hoping to bump into you. One of the things I would love to do is bring back drum circles at festivals. So if you like to drum, if you want to hang out at a festival, become a neighbor, go ahead and drop your email in that box on the website. I don't spam people. I've been doing internet marketing my whole life, and spamming is for the birds. So I don't do that. This week, I'm digging into Nelson Ledges Quarry Park in Garrettsville, Ohio. It just became one of my favorite venues of all time, specifically around their Grateful Fest and Grassfire festivals. So these are two festivals that have already happened this year. I was able to go and spend some time at each one of those festivals and really, really enjoyed the experience. But before we get to that, and normally I do some news on festivals, we'll get to that towards the end of the show. But I'm actually getting ready to head to Acoustic Hookahs Festival, Fall Hookahville. This is the 30th anniversary of Acoustic Hookahs Hookahville. It's been around since 1994, and this is the 2024 version. And this is going to be at the J&M Ranch in Ansonia, Ohio. So that's all the way up at the top corner of the state. And I'm meeting some friends there who ironically took me to my very first Hookahville many moons ago. So you'll get to hopefully see some video of my friends Ed and Lacey. And at this point, going to Hookahville, there's tons and tons of people. It's a big family that goes to this festival. It's not the biggest festival you're going to go to, but if you really want a tight knit group of family style people that really enjoy the band, this is great to go. But in doing this, it made me realize that one of the things that I've not talked about yet is generators. So as I'm recording this is the Thursday before it airs. We're in this crazy heat wave in Ohio and in the Midwest in general. And yeah, it's hot, but it's always hot in August, right? But sleeping outside when it's like 100 degrees and humid, not your greatest experience ever. So I am taking my camper. And Ed calls me up earlier this week and is like, hey, my generator's on the fritz. Can I borrow yours? And it got me thinking of, generators are pretty important to have at festivals, whether you're camping in a tent or whether you have a trailer or an RV or whatever. You definitely want to have a generator because things like cell phones need charged. And it's always good to have that, especially if you want to, bigger festivals, you need that to get around, stay connected with your folks, or you might lose them. So we're going to go over some quick hacks and tips for anybody who's bringing a generator to a festival. These are actually pretty important things. I was going to record a video outside. I had this big plan to actually go outside and record the video while I was, tweaking the generators and whatnot. And it's like 100 degrees, and I spent 2 minutes out there and was dripping sweat all over my cameras. So we're going to do it this way and use the power of StreamYard. So generator tip number 1, the first thing that you need to do is always test and troubleshoot your generator before you go. Many, many times people get to the generator, they throw it in the truck, they throw it in the van, whatever. They get to the festival, they go to start it up, not happening, right? Something's going on. The problem with that is that at the festival, you're out at a campground. So you don't actually know if there's a local Walmart or an AutoZone or something where you're going to be able to go get parts or oil for your generator. So it's always a good idea to bring the thing home, throw it out in the driveway, give it a start, right? Make sure it starts up, let it run for about 5 minutes and test all your modes, including most of these generators, especially if you want to make friends at festivals, get a quiet generator. I know they're not cheap, but it is worth the investment to get something that can run on a quiet mode. Your neighbors will be so much happier with you. So always test and troubleshoot that before you go. Tip number 2, keep the oil topped off. So many, many times I've gone to festivals and friends have called me up and said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on with my generator. I can't get it to start." There's usually one of three reasons why your generator will not start. One, you have the power turned off, i.e., the button for off is still in the off position from when you turned it off last time. And I've actually talked to a couple people that, and you point that out and they're like, oh yeah, okay. So make sure the thing's turned on. Make sure that you're connected and that you're ready to start it. Number two, check the oil. If your generator won't start, it might be because the oil is low or non-existent at all. There's no oil in it. That is a good way to kill your generator if you keep trying to start it. But definitely check the oil in the generator. Make sure it's topped off. You're going to want to use 5W30 most of the time, depending on the weather. That's probably going to get you to 80% of the festivals that you're going to go to. And it's always a good idea to try and use the manufacturer's recommended oil. So I have a Briggs and Stratton generator that's a big 6,500 watt power generator that I use to run my AC on my camper. That one really likes to have Briggs and Stratton oil, right? You put other stuff in it, it runs loud, it does some weird stuff, but make sure it's 5W30 gasoline friendly oil, and make sure you're topped off. And I recommend at least changing your generator oil about once a season. Fairly easy to do. Most of them take 2 or 3 quarts. You just dump the thing over, make sure you got a nice little bucket to collect all the oil in, dump it all out, fill it back up with fresh oil, you're good to go. So make sure that you're topped off, and that's going to be why that generator didn't start. Another thing that is always a good idea when you're going to a festival, especially if you're traveling far, bring a spare. Now, a lot of people can't afford to buy 2 generators. These things aren't cheap. But if you are traveling somewhere, especially if you have a camper, bring a spare generator. You can rent these from any of your local hardware stores. Home Depot will let you rent generators. Lowe's will let you rent generators. Sunbelt Rentals. You can even, in some of these places, rent quiet generators, the little ones you can actually pick up and carry. And anymore, the size of these things are small. The popular ones have been the Honda Predators. A lot of the Honda quiet generators that you can daisy chain together are really, really great. But at the end of the day, you don't need that. I went with Generac, right? So Generac is a company that specifically makes generators, i.e. the name. It's my favorite generator that I have. This thing always starts on the first pull. It's never failed me. It is a workhorse. I love that generator. I will always keep it no matter what. A lot of times now I can't run my AC off it because it's only 3,500 watts. But for fall festivals, spring festivals, when I don't necessarily need the AC, or if I'm just going in my tent, I definitely like to bring that generator, and that's a good one as well. But if you can bring 2, bring a spare, because number one, that's going to give you a backup, and you never know who might need to borrow your generator. It's nice to be a good neighbor sometimes. Tip number 4, remember your dongles. There has been, and I will self-admit this, sometimes I'm an idiot and I forget things, but there's been many times where I've gone through my pre-check, I've tested my generators, I've got my gas, I've tested the oil, I get all the way there, and I forgot my dongle to be able to plug the damn thing in. No good if you can't plug it into your camper or whatever. Now, if you're just camping in a tent, most of them are going to have your 12 volts. I think it's 12 volts, where you can plug a normal house outlet into, built right into the generator. That's okay. But if you need to plug it into a camper, you're going to need a 30 amp adapter or a 50 amp adapter, or a combination of those 2 adapters. So always remember to bring that. And I'll show some pictures of what those look like as well. Tip number 5, if you don't direct the exhaust from your generator away from things, 2 things are going to happen. Your neighbors are going to get real pissed because it's going to be real loud. So you always want to point the direction that's spitting out the exhaust into the woods, into the field, into whatever, away from somebody's camp. And if you put it too close to something, i.e. your camper, under a car, if you turn it on and cover it up without that being vented, the generator is going to shut off. These things are actually designed to shut off if they start to collect too many fumes and whatnot, because nobody should die from carbon monoxide poisoning, right? So definitely make sure that you have enough vent for your generator to let the exhaust out. So case in point, I was down in the Caverns in Pelham, Tennessee, and I had my 6,500 watt. I was running my camper off of that, and I put it up in my truck to try to see if I could use the walls of my truck to dampen some of the noise. And I actually had to take it down because it would not run in the back of my truck. The walls of the truck bed were capturing too much of the exhaust and it was choking out the generator. So if you find that happening, if you're running your generator and it keeps just shutting off, first thing to check is the oil. Second thing to check is, do you have it vented? Is it in a big enough space? If those two things don't work, you might be fucked. But those two troubleshooting things will typically fix most of your generator problems while you're at the venue. This is a really, really important one. When you are at music festivals, there is a ton of people there. Make sure you lock your generator up. Bring a very long chain, big bike lock, whatever you want. Make sure you've got at least 10 to 15 feet so you can hook it to the back of your camper or the bumper of your car, something that's not going to be easily moved. And you can have the generator far enough away that it prevents the noise, that it's going to be vented. But make sure you lock it up and make sure that you have a long enough chain that you can also lock up your gas cans. I have heard stories of people whose generators have quote unquote walked off during a festival. It's never happened to me and I've never seen it before, but I have seen people lose gas cans. Gas cans are easy to steal. And I don't want to say that people necessarily do that, but sometimes people steal generators and gas cans. So make sure that if you're bringing this expensive piece of equipment to you when you camp, that you're locking it up. The amount of people that I see that do not lock their generators and gas cans to a vehicle or something at festivals always staggers me, because these things are a couple $100 at the least, more if they're bigger. So make sure that you're bringing that and you're locking everything up. Again, we talked a little bit about the exhaust. So construction generators are the worst of this. Do not bring a construction generator to a festival. It is so loud and obnoxious that your neighbors are going to get ticked off at you. You're not going to be able to sleep. And they're not designed for camping. So they're going to put off all kinds of exhaust and it's going to annoy everybody. Please don't do that. Please be kind. And if you're going to bring a generator, bring a quiet generator. And finally, be a good neighbor, right? So unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be there, but a couple hookahvilles ago, in fact, the last hookahville in Ansonia at J&M Ranch, I met a guy named Buddy Love Bailey because his generator bit the crap. And so he was camping next to me. I said, well, man, I got it. He was just in a tent and just wanted to run a 12 boat. So we got an extension cord and ran it to him, and he had power for the weekend. No sweat off my back. I was running the generator anyway. I had plenty of gas. To this day, Buddy and I are still friends, right? We still talk on Facebook. I think after that, he had sent me a pin, a Billy Strings pin. He knew I liked Billy Strings. But, share and share alike. If you've got, I think it was an old Yonder Mountain String man, if you've got some socks, give him some socks. If you've got a blanket, give him some blanket. If you've got the extra generator and power, give him some power. Be a good neighbor and make friends with your neighbors that way. So these may seem basic, right? Like if you are a camper person, right, you're probably well familiar with generators and how this all work. But if you've never taken a generator to a camp before at a festival, it's definitely worth the investment. It's definitely worth doing. At any rate, you'll keep all your stuff charged, so you don't have to worry about that. But be a good neighbor when you're doing it as well. All right. So we're going to get on to the meat of the show. And I want to start this out. So this is really about two festivals at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park. Grateful Fest was July 18th through the 20th. And this is a festival that focuses on all things Grateful Dead. Headliners were Keller Williams, Grateful Grass, which unfortunately I did not get there to see. I was only able to go one day, but that was great. Acoustic Hookah, again, played at this one and did a lot of Dead stuff. Melvin Seals was somebody who I was just delighted to see. That guy can play some keys. And what was ironic about that was he gets on stage at Grateful Fest and his keys crapped out. And so they brought engineers out and they were trying to fix his keyboard. And then finally you see Dave Katz from Acoustic Hookah like behind the stage going, hey, I got some keys. And so they ended up bringing out Dave's keyboard. And I can't remember which one it was. But I have to, hats off to Dave for volunteering the keyboard, because I have to feel like that's like somebody dating your wife, right? Like if you're a keys player, you've got your keys, your instrument, and that's your instrument, right? And you get somebody like Melvin, who's just a crazy keys player. I would have been a little bit nervous if I was Dave Katz, but because of Dave, Melvin got to play and it was awesome. And hopefully he got his keys back in good shape. Other favorite features of that festival, High Rider played a killer set. So High Riders, a Grateful Dead cover band, and they were phenomenal. That was one of the best shows. And then Fletcher's Groove was also really notable at that festival. A couple weeks later, actually August 1st through the 3rd, was Grassfire. And this was a jamgrass. It's titled as a jamgrass to bluegrass festival. And I thought that was interesting because clearly bluegrass comes first before jamgrass. Jamgrass was an evolution of bluegrass. This festival had both. And so I was really stoked because for the first time, I actually got to see Del McCoury play, as well as Peter Rowan. And these are two grandfathers of bluegrass that have been around forever and really were part of the founding parties of bluegrass. So getting to see them up on stage, and both of them are probably in their 70s, 80s at this point, I would have to guess. But it was phenomenal. And I got to give it to Del McCoury and his band. Those guys really, you'll see a clip from them in the interview, but man, he has still got it. He is spry as they come, and funny and interesting on stage. So definitely we're seeing, and then you got to see Traveling McCoury's as well, which was his son, Ronnie McCoury. They're a great band. They do a lot of great stuff. My wife actually likes them a lot. Got to see Leftover Salmon. I'm going to see Vince this weekend with the Vince Herman Band. So Vince is the lead in Leftover Salmon. But Leftover Salmon actually played with Steve Sweeney from Acoustic Hookah on lead guitar. And if you've never seen Sweeney play electric guitar, he's one of the top 5 guitarists probably in the game right now. He's kind of this like under the ground hero that everybody knows, but he just plays a mean guitar. David Mayfield Parade. I have some clips of them. I'm going to put them on the YouTube playlist as well. These guys were great and they were so entertaining, but they moved into making some political comments and some comments that could have been maybe taken as anti-LGBTQI, and that just was kind of a turnoff. So like if you're a performer, right, nobody really wants to be there to hear your political opinions or how you sit on that. We're here for the music, right? So keep it off the stage if you can. I think it's better for everybody that way. Did get to see Donna the Buffalo, which they played at my very first Hookahville, so that was cool to see them. It was the first time I had seen them for years and years and years. And then the major headliner that I was there to see was Green Sky Bluegrass, and they were phenomenal. So there's going to be clips of all these folks as we talk about it. But just some really, really amazing bands. I was able to walk around the venue and the festivals and not only get footage of the how you get around and the things you need to know. And you're going to see that on the YouTube playlist. So if you go to the YouTube channel, if you're watching this, you're on the YouTube channel probably, or you're on the website, depending on how you get your stuff. But if you're listening to it, go to the YouTube channel and look for the YouTube playlist titled Nelson Ledges Quarry Park, Garrettsville, Ohio. There's going to be a complete rundown of how to get around. One of the big things that came out of that was how you find your way around the camp in terms of their letter system. So there's some videos on that because it's a little bit confusing. There's a main road, and then there's all these windy offshoot roads that go off the main road in different sections of camp, from Narnia to the Meadows to the beach area and the stage. So all that is in the YouTube playlists. And that's what those are designed for, is if you're going there, you've never been to Mount Nelson Ledges Quarry Park, or if you go and you've been there a couple times and you want to find a different place to camp, all that video is there so you can see what you're getting into. And, there's going to be some interviews spliced in and things like that. So make sure to check out those venue playlists on the YouTube channel. Let's go to the first one, though. I was able to meet a guy named Elmer who had been there for quite a while. And let's listen to what Elmer had to say right now. Elmer, you said?
Elmer of Camp Elmer.
Camp Elmer, awesome. How long have you been coming to Grateful Fest here?
This festival, I've been coming to this one since around 2008 and coming to this park since 2005.
So what do you love about it? It seems like it's a cool place, but what's your thing?
Shoot, you'd have to have like a good 20 minutes to sit down and say my favorite things because there's not just one. I mean, it's just the people, it's the food, it's the camping, the music, the togetherness, the family that I've developed over the years of being here and everything. It's hard to nail down to one thing. It's just one big enchilada of just wonderful.
Yeah,
and
it's a super cool vibe here. Who are you excited about seeing tonight?
I was just, like I said, Hookah's playing right now. That's right. I like them. I've been seeing them since the beginning of festivals. Been going since 2004. And I'd like going to see some of the other Dead bands they had and everything. It's like I said, I'm a person that's just easily pleased, and I like all of them.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, brother. This is cool, and I'm glad to get your take on this stuff.
No problem.
Thanks, dude.
Oh, my pleasure.
So Elmer was super cool. And it's interesting. I didn't want to put this on there, but I ended up getting to talking to Elmer afterwards. And it's interesting the people you meet, the neighbors you meet at these festivals, because everybody's got an interesting backstory. And there's a lot of folks that got into festivals because they went through something traumatic or they couldn't connect or whatever. I'm one of those folks, right? Like I always feel more at home at a music festival. I'm a little bit socially awkward, I think, elsewhere, but Elmer was like that. Elmer had some interesting backstory stuff. And for him going to music festivals and Nelson Ledges really was that release. It was what kind of, made it okay to be who he was. And I thought that was interesting. As I'm going through the rest of the venue, I got to meet a gentleman named Meadows, and Meadows is cool because Meadows has done some interesting stuff, and Meadows is himself a performer. So let's hear from YDK Meadows. All right, man, what's your name?
My name is Meadows.
Meadows.
Yeah.
So you come here a lot. Like you've been coming here, you said about 2 years, yeah?
Yeah, I've been coming here for like 2 years, and ever since day one, I fell in love with this place.
Yeah. So what's the reason? Like why Nelson? Like why is this place sweet?
This place is sweet because, like I said, it's my home away from home. Like I came out here and just all the love you feel, the genuine people. Like literally every neighbor I got, I remember to this day because like they're just so genuine. Like I love all my neighbors out here. Everybody's family. Like I love it. I love that. Bringing people together, just getting to know each other. Even just because you come to the festivals, you can choose whether or not you want to get to know somebody or grow with the people, or just keep it like that. The moment you meet somebody. And just that feeling you get in that moment, you can't recreate.
Now, what's the festivals that you've liked the most out here? Like,
my first festival was Badfish, so I fell in love with Badfish. Like that's probably my favorite one. But that string of festivals at the end of the season here at Nelson Ledges, it is Fall Badfish, Gory at the Quarry,
okay,
and then a little secret festival at the end. It was called Magic Moments. Just people getting together that you met over the past couple weeks.
Yeah,
getting together and just hanging out one last week before they close up the quarry and stuff like that. It's really dope. So
that's cool.
That whole string of festivals is my favorite.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, where are you guys camping at?
I like that she tries to steal a sandwich. It's hilarious.
M24, and out straight up the beach. You can take any turn. Turn on First Street, go straight up. You'll meet the M's, turn right at the first porta potties. But hey, if you're lost in the woods, and somebody tell you turn left at the porta potties, don't listen unless you want to get lost.
Right.
Unless you want to get lost.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. My name is Meadows.
YDK Meadows.
Yep, and on all DSPs at Meadows. Stream my music. I got a song called The Ledges, and I made that song after my first fest.
Wait, so you wrote a song about this place?
Yeah.
All right, so people can find the song about Ledges.
The Ledges on anything. You search Meadows, The Ledges, you'll find a song about my very first experience at The Ledges.
All right,
that whole string of festivals I was telling you about, those 1, 2, 3, it's all in that song. You'll get a nice little glimpse of it from that. You take a listen.
Awesome, dude. We'll check it out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
What's amazing to me is as I go around and talk to people, especially at Nelson Ledges, everybody says the same thing. Everybody says this place is magical, right? Like, and it really is. Like, I hate to sound like a fanboy. I've been going to festivals for 25 years. I can't believe that it took me this long to get to Nelson Ledges Quarry Park. If you have not gone to a festival at this place, you have to go because it is one of the most fun venues that I've ever seen music at. So definitely check that out. The vendor scene is also, pretty amazing as well. One of the bigger shakedown streets and great food that you see there. And I was able to talk to Harry from Huzzah Hippie Shit, which is a vendor that is a seasonal vendor up there. So let's talk with Harry.
For talking to me, man. So how long have you guys been vending here at Nelson?
Well, we started this year, and we kind of we applied. We thought we'd give it a shot and see what happens. And they saw our stuff and they responded, and they were like, "Yeah, we would like to put you in our team."
Yeah.
So we picked for the first one actually I believe it was Classic Fest.
Okay.
And then since we liked it so much at Classic Fest, we said we're gonna come back for Grateful Fest.
Yeah.
And this was the last minute that we go to Grassfire.
Okay.
Because we were actually in Maryland, and it was like kind of on the way home, and we were like, you know what? We liked it at Classic, and we liked it at Grateful.
Yeah.
Why not just put this to it?
Yeah.
So we made this a 3. And I hope we can do actually more, because we really like it here. We used to come to the Ledges before we started vending.
Yeah.
We like it for how everything is set up, like the nice shady campground you have in the back with all the woods.
Yeah.
The lake, which is really nice to swim in.
Yeah.
And the safety guards that take care of the kids. It's an awesome place.
Yeah.
It's really
it
something you don't want to miss out.
So if you're coming here for the first time, like as just a guest, right? You're coming here for a festival or something. What is something you feel like you need to know? Like, what should people know, like, to be prepared for, or like?
Well, you might want to prepare yourself for the fact that you realize you should have came here a long time ago.
Yeah, right.
Because when we got here, we were like, wow, is this even possible? A place like this?
Yeah.
This is really great. And we were actually surprised that we didn't hear of this before.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is.
That's my take on it. And if you want to get prepared, yeah, you can actually, when it comes to food, we all know food at festivals is a little bit more pricey, but here you get actually some good food.
Yeah.
So,
what's your favorite? What do you like to eat?
Oh, we love disco pizza.
Right. Yeah, that's a classic.
Our daughter brought a slice over, and we were like, man, that's some really good pie.
That's cool.
And then the Alteas, they make pancakes. They don't fit on a small plate. They're really big pancakes. And they're actually fairly priced. So we cannot complain at all. Like, their coffee place is really good.
That's cool.
And everything we tried, the smoothies, it's all really good stuff.
Nice.
And the vendors and the staff, they're really friendly. And the people overall hanging out here, it's just, this is a place you want to go when you want to have a great time.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks for talking to me, man.
Oh, please. You're welcome.
Cheers.
And thank you.
So I was able to meet Harry and his whole family. And what's interesting is they make all the art that they sell in their booth. And it's a family affair. I forget what his wife's name was, but she was super nice. And the daughter helps him make the stuff. But it's all the glow in the dark type art. And just and also a note, he mentioned Althea's, which is one of the more popular venues. So this is your typical festival comfort food, right? Like you've been partying since Friday night. It's late in the day, Saturday. You need something greasy. Go to Althea's. Althea's is awesome. Like there's also a lot of healthy stuff there too, which is interesting for festivals in itself, because a lot of times you're getting the fried food, the burgers, things like that. But there was a nice variety of stuff to eat at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park, and it does look like, as vendors go, I think there's some competition to get in there. It looks like it's a little bit difficult to get in, so that would mean that there's kind of cream of the crop vendors. If you get picked, you know what you're doing. So finally, as I'm walking around the campground, and again, the campground is massive and the whole place is in the woods. So it's definitely a place that, and go to the YouTube playlist, because there's breakdowns of like, here's what it looks like. Here is, what RV Row looks like. They do have Power RV, and it's real Power RV with like 30 and I assume 50 amp hookup, because I saw some really, really big trailers there and some big drivables there that could only be on 50 if they were running their AC. Versus like a Legend Valley where you sign up for electric RV, but it's really just 12-volt plugs that run out of extension cords. These guys at Nelson, they actually have like full hookup type, not full hookup, but enough hookup that you can actually have ample power. But if you're going to go to Nelson, definitely give it a stab at tent camping, because the whole place is shaded and it really is something else to camp in the middle of the woods with all these people and see Tent City in the actual woods. So as I was walking around trying to map out Tent City and figure out the way that they do their numbering system, because there's the main road and then there's single letter roads and then there's double letter roads, and they're not necessarily in order. And so it can be a little bit confusing. But as I was walking around that, I got to meet Joe, and Joe had only been to the Ledges once or twice, but let's hear what he had to say. So I'm here with Joe. Joe, thanks for talking to me, man.
Of course.
So you said you've been here this is your third time at Ledges?
Yeah, third time at the Ledges. Just here from last night into today.
Okay.
But just wanted to have some fun in the woods and just be in the Ledges area.
Yeah.
Man.
Now, do you go to a lot of festivals, a lot of concerts?
This is like my second festival. My first one was Wonderworks in like Pittsburgh of last year.
Okay.
And this is like my first really good music festival.
Nice,
So,
nice. What do you like about Grassfire, about Nelson?
Grassfire, the bluegrass music.
Yeah.
Man, nothing like a good banjo.
There's Dell.
Fiddle.
Right.
I play the drums, so bluegrass music not having a whole lot of percussion was like different to me.
Yeah.
But just hearing like the way how the bass, like the cello works on the bass and all that type of good stuff is awesome. And then the Ledges, I told my friends I was going camping. They go, "Where are you going camping?" I say Nelson's Ledges. It's so hard to explain, but the experience is just immaculate.
Yeah, it's really it's crazy just even walking around here. It feels very magical. You mentioned the banjo second band this morning. Did you happen to see that guy?
I did not know. We just got out to see, I think, Donna the Buffalo.
Okay, yeah.
That was our first band for the day, so unfortunately did not get to catch that.
Who are you looking forward to tonight?
I really want to see Green Sky Bluegrass.
Yeah.
And I gotta play the drums at church at 7:30 in the morning Sunday, so I don't know if I'll be able to hang for the last set. But
Hey man, duty calls, yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I appreciate you talking. One last thing, dude. So you're fairly new to the festival. Somebody who's coming to Nelson Ledges for the first time.
Yeah.
What piece of advice? What should they bring? What do you wish you would have done?
Okay. Yeah. Definitely bring stuff for when it rains. It always rains at the Ledges. Majority of the time it rains at the Ledges. That's just the way how it goes.
Yeah.
But bring a positive attitude. If you're coming with friends, just help them out in any way that you can. Bring a helping hand. Or if you're just coming by yourself, get ready to meet a lot of friends, because
Nice.
everyone here is just like neighbor Nate,
Yeah.
ready to
See?
reach out and chat you up. So yeah.
Dude.
And definitely bring a sprout or two if you got them.
Oh, nice.
And
What
give
are
them to
these things? Oh,
little sprout. Give
Okay.
them to some friends. Neighbor Nate.
sweet, dude. Thanks,
You got a
man.
sprout. You got
I
it,
a
brother.
Sprout. That's awesome.
So,
Hey, man. I
yeah.
appreciate you, brother.
You got it.
Thank you, man.
Of course.
Cheers.
My guy.
I think I can officially say that I sprouted at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park now. So thank you, Joe, for that if you're watching this. But yeah, it was, these are the types of people that you meet at these festivals at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park. One thing about the rain, so Grassfire was really a rainy weekend. I figured out that I had a very leaky tent at that point, and I was able to get it solved. But make sure you look at the YouTube playlist, and I'm working on getting the camping hacks one up. A lot of video editing. But quick tip on camping hack. Bring yourself one of those like chamois wringable towels. I have a full-size beach towel, and there's going to be a video on that, how that saved my ass from having probably a good 2 inches of water in my tent within like 10 minutes of being there. So definitely look at the YouTube playlist for that one. So that's Nelson Ledges Quarry Park. It's hard to cover all of it in one episode. They do 6 to 8 festivals for a year. Again, Badfish is the big one. Everybody talks about Badfish. I have some other interviews that I chose not to put up because I don't know if those people would want what they said actually to be on the internets. They were very truthful at that point of the day. But definitely check out Badfish there. Some of the fall festivals are phenomenal. Or if you just go up to camp, apparently you can just go up to camp at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park. And that's great as well. There's paddleboarding, there's a lake, there's cliff jumping, there's a beach, there's all kinds of stuff to do. Side note too, and there's going to be a full video on this as well, but 1 mile down the road from the campground entrance, so you go into Nelson Ledges Quarry Park into the concert venue. If you keep going down that road about a mile, you get to Nelson Ledges State Park, and there's I forget the actual full name of it. It is amazing hiking. There is rock formations like you see in southern Ohio, almost down towards like the Logan Hocking Hills area, but really great hiking, great state park, very well maintained. It's all there. right? You can walk down the road, you can drive there, but definitely check it out. So for my festival ratings, I'm going to give Grateful Fest probably a 9. I thought Grateful Fest was awesome, but Grassfire was definitely a 10 in terms of the lineup and the crowd. So venue pros, again, the whole venue is amazing. There's activities everywhere from a playground to, you know, all the beach stuff to the state park to volleyball to whatever. And then just walking around campground is entertaining as hell. Camping in the woods is definitely a plus, right? You don't even need to bring a canopy to this place versus like a lot of the venues you go to, you're out in the middle of a field and, you know, you've been drinking the night before and then it gets to be noon and it's 90 degrees and you're miserable. Not at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park. There's definitely all kinds of shade and interesting stuff to do. The staff is super relaxed and friendly and they'll tell you that, right? Like they tell you that they're just pretty relaxed and nobody gives you too many hassles or there's no bad attitudes. That's a hookah thing, right? And there's not any type of intimidating security presence. So in the last couple of years, I've gone to some venues that maybe these venues have had problems in the past, but you'll go and there's state highway patrol cars parked there. There's security guards with flashing lights. There's people walking around with dogs. I don't know if that's necessary. Most of the time you go to music festivals, at least in the folk bluegrass / Americana genre, and most people are pretty self-policing. They take care of themselves and people are partying, doing what they do, but nobody's hurting anybody, right? At Grateful Fest, there was security there. There was great lifeguard staff. There was, you know, people walking around making sure that you're not speeding through the venue. That is one thing you will get yelled at for at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park is they have a strict 5-mile-an-hour drive through the campground, and for good reason. The main road is packed. You don't want to hit somebody at a festival, right? So make sure to heed that. Don't be flying through that campground. Keep it to 5 miles an hour. But all in all, they do such a nice job up there. I can't wait to get back next season to go to a few more festivals there. Only cons for that venue, and there's not many, is it's huge, right? It'll take you a while to walk around the whole thing, and it's easy to get lost. As you go in, if they don't hand you a map of the campground, make sure to ask for one because that is your lifeline. I'm going to throw that up as an image on the YouTube playlist under the post section. Other con, and this was more at Grateful Fest than Grassfire, which was surprising to me because it was a Grateful Dead festival, but there seems to be a constant EDM presence at the Ledges. So and you could hear it at Grateful Fest. You could hear EDM happening across the campground. It sounds like the Meadows area is where there's a lot more partying late night, fireworks going off at 3 o'clock in the morning, which apparently NLPQ or Nelson Ledges Quarry Park, NLQP staff does not like, and they try to stop that. But there's tweakers running around on the main road with speakers, right? To reference Keller. So that's okay. EDM is okay by me. I like EDM, but if you're there for Grateful Dead or for Grassfire, that can be a little bit weird. And then be cautious heading home. So little birds that I know who frequent up there tell me that while security inside the venue is pretty good and they're not intimidating or anything, when you drive home, there's going to be local sheriffs out and about in that area. So make sure that you're not still drunk. Make sure that you don't look like there's nothing crazy hanging off your vehicle because you don't want to get pulled over after having a great weekend at a festival. That would not be good. But again, Grateful Fest was definitely a 9. Grassfire, straight 10 in my books. Probably one of the best bluegrass festivals I've been to in the last couple of years. Really, really enjoyed my time there. So next week, like I said, I am heading to Fall Hookahville tomorrow morning out at J&M Ranch in Ansonia, Ohio. It's the 30th anniversary of that festival, probably one of the older festivals in the nation. And so next week will be an episode on that. I'm looking forward to talking with a bunch of folks out there, hopefully getting some great footage of the vape bands, maybe getting an interview with a band or two. Dave Katz, if you're listening, I would love to talk to you about the history of Hookahville, man. Like, somebody has to get that story on video before you fuckers get too old. But that would be awesome. The following Friday, I will be heading up to Bowling Green, Ohio, for the Black Swamp Arts Festival. This is September 6th, 7th, and 8th. I'm only going to go for the Friday because I've got some other stuff I got to do that weekend. But Friday at 8 p.m. is going to be Chris Jacobs. Shout out to Chris Jacobs. I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet, but the new album is phenomenal. And I don't have it in my notes. I can't remember what the name of it is. But if you just look up Chris Jacobs, C-R-I-S Jacobs, he has a new album out. I think it might be the album of the year. The String Dusters are the band. So Infamous String Dusters are the band on that album. You've got Billy Strings on one of the tracks as well, playing guitar and doing backup vocals. You've got who else? There's tons of people on the album. So definitely look up Chris Jacobs. And he's going to be playing Friday 9/6 at 8 p.m. And then following him is going to be Daniel Donato's Cosmic Country, who we just had on the show last week. And I'm excited to see that because these guys are all over the place. And Daniel Donato is really one of the coolest people I've gotten to talk to in a while. He's phenomenally smart and gifted and just a really cool down-to-earth dude who likes greyhounds, right? Which is kind of cool. Make sure to tune into that episode as well. And it's a long interview, but definitely check out the very last 10 minutes of it too, because we talk a lot about Camp Cosmic, which is his festival. I'm going to be going to Camp Cosmic down at the Caverns in Pelham, Tennessee. That comes up in April of 2025. But a lot of interesting stuff about Daniel's personality and just some off the wall questions that I thought were pretty entertaining. He's going to be playing again Friday 9/6 at 10 p.m. It's going to be a late drive back for me because I'm not staying the night up there. If you dig this show, please make sure to, if you're listening to it on your favorite podcast network or you're on the YouTube channel, give it a like, give it a rating, rate us highly, hopefully, because we want to get more listeners. And if you're really down and you want to be on the inside of the conspiracy, jump into the neighborhood at musicfestivalspodcast.com. If you leave your email address, I promise not to spam you, but that's going to get you access to special and nifty things that could even include VIP events at a festival near you. And so hopefully I'll see you in the neighborhood. I am your host, Neighbor Nate. I'm excited to go to Hookahville, and I will talk to you all next week. See you soon.